All right, guys, back on Southeastern 16 with Chase Robinson talking SEC football this offseason. The Crimson Tide, Chase, we know, coming off of an interesting year, to say the least. Kalen DeBoer's first season on the job. We knew there would be, some ups and downs probably, and that was the case, of course. We know the expectation for Alabama football is not to just be a team that's, just kind of there in the upper tier. As we know, it's to be competing for national championships, and now we will look and see if Alabama can do that in DeBoer's second season. But as you know, Chase, a lot of the talk is going to be around how things play out at quarterback with Jalen Milroe off to the NFL. And now you've got some guys that are waiting in the wings, as we know. And Kalen DeBoer's made some recent comments about his expectations for this position, of course, to see what happens with Ty Simpson and so forth. But yeah, this was already the biggest story of kind of this offseason for Alabama, but it'll certainly be the case as we go into the summer and get ready for that opener against Florida State there on August 30th.
Yeah, I mean, last year it's 9-win season, but was that enough for Alabama? No, like that's not what Alabama fans are used to, and so this year it's going to be much different. And you do have to circle that quarterback position because the experience level is not there than from what we're used to when it comes to quarterbacks in Alabama. And Ty Simpson's been there, and he has a lot of experience as far as leadership goes, of being in the program, of learning things, of understanding things. But when it comes to on the field leadership, that's where it's lacking in the whole quarterback room. And Ty Simpson has 50 career passes as a quarterback, and he's going to most likely, barring something crazy happening in fall camp, he's going to be the starting quarterback for Alabama. And so there's a lot of weapons around him, but still you have to look at, okay, he does not have a lot of in-game experience, a lot of valuable experience. It's a lot of garbage time of what he came in and did at Alabama. So it's going to be interesting to see right off the bat in a big moment against Florida State, a team who's really trying to bounce back from last year, how the offensive plan is for Ty Simpson. And I think he really fits in. Ryan Grubb, new offensive coordinator at Alabama, really fits in with what he likes to do, more of a pro-style quarterback. Alabama's going to throw the ball so many times during the game. They're going to be throwing it all over the place, and I think Ty Simpson has the arm to do that. Blake, it's just experience for me. Like, what is that going to look like when you don't have a ton of experience in the whole quarterback room and you're out there trying to compete for a national championship?
Yeah, I mean, beyond that, Austin Mack has thrown 3 passes last year. Of course, Russell's going to come in, and we know, obviously there are high expectations, and I think that's what's going to get interesting. I'm going to read these quotes from Kalen DeBoer. He was on Greg McElroy's Always College Football podcast. Some of you guys may have already seen this, but I'm gonna read him just in case, as he talked about sort of the quarterback position. And he was kind of playing sort of the long game, like, hey, we'll choose a starter before we get to Florida State. Basically, he's not going to say, hey, here's the deal right now. Here's how it sets up, but we'll choose it about a week and a half out, something like that, from that game on August 30th in Tallahassee. But here's what he had to say. I'm reading this from AL.com. Kind of comparing it to last year, right? Because that, fair or not, that's going to be the comparison. Quote, I think we're more of a similar group as Greg McElroy mentioned. I think in your own words, maybe the diversity of who we had as far as the skill set and how different they were in 2024 and how you wanted to lose it or how you wanted to use it. Jalen, as far as explosiveness, I don't know if I've ever seen anything like it with a quarterback who could use his legs or had that luxury in that fashion. And you have to make sure you're utilizing the skill set of your players. And Jalen certainly had, I always refer to it as superpower that we had to make sure we incorporated into our game plan. Like you said, there's not a lot of experience. You don't have necessarily a Jalen Milroe on the roster. And so that's kind of, one thing. And then as he goes on to talk about it, whether it's just kind of talking about the potential dual threat or something like that, well, as we said, it's going to be a little bit different. Quote, I think all 3 quarterbacks that we have do have the ability to extend plays. What they're doing as far as moving the chains, using their legs to keep plays alive. And Austin Mack, even as big as he is, once he gets moving, he covers a lot of ground. And Ty was a great dual threat, and Keelon has the same abilities to make people miss and probably faster than most people think. So, like, that's just there's nothing in there, right? That's just completely saying, hey, this is the one guy we're leaning towards. Like, this is how it's going to be. But I do think that was kind of fascinating just to hear his insight on, look, clearly it's going to be different this year. And that's not even adding in, the experience aspect. He didn't mention anything like that, but it's sort of comparing it to Jalen Milroe from last year. It's going to be an unfair comparison, but now, as he did mention, it's about utilizing the skill sets of your players. And like you said, they're going to throw the ball a lot, but who's going to be throwing the passes? And again, is it going to be Ty Simpson the full year? Is Russell going to kind of slot in there and be the guy? Like, there's all sorts of questions.
There is. And Austin Mack is a guy that has always intrigued me since he came to Alabama. Obviously, he was at Washington. Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb, Grubb being a big recruiter of Austin Mack. They brought him to Washington and then thought well enough of him to also want him to come to Alabama when Kalen DeBoer came. And so obviously they recruited him from the very start out of high school. And so the fact that he came to Alabama really intrigues me of what will his playing time look like, because obviously they spent a lot of time on him, bringing him to Washington, bringing him to Tuscaloosa. And so where does he fit into this? Because I've heard he is a really good quarterback. I've not seen him, but from those who have that I've talked to say that he could be a guy that does compete for the job because they really trust him. And he understands what they're trying to do. Again, what Ryan Grubb is bringing in as offensive coordinator is going to be much different from what we saw last year. And part of that being the skill set. Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb have their offense that they've always run. And what Kalen DeBoer had to do last year was completely change that, because Jalen Milroe did not fit into. He's not a Michael Penix. He was not the guys that he's coached before. And I think whether it's Ty Simpson, whether it's Austin Mack, whether it's Keelon Russell, all three of those guys are more of your Michael Penix type quarterbacks. And I'm using Michael Penix as an example because he's the one that everybody remembers that who Kalen DeBoer coached at Washington. And so those three guys kind of fit more of that mold of what Kalen DeBoer likes to do. But Austin Mack really intrigues me. I think we could see him some this season. I really do. Whether it's Ty Simpson who wins the job, and I say win the job in quotation marks, because I do think we'll see the other quarterbacks at moments, and I think it'll be really fascinating to see.
Yeah, something else he said on that show with Greg McElroy, the Athlon Sports, who has it, the quote, I think I mentioned many times, we're not where we need to be. And that may sound like a knock on these guys, but that's expected. There's a progression. There's a process these guys got to be on. None of them have taken this overwhelming number of college snaps, especially in a game, much less with the ones on the practice field. So, like, that's where you're at. And he went on to kind of talk about the pressure that comes along with, hey, it's a little bit different when you're someone who's not taking a snap, in high school or someone like, something like that. It's different now when you're playing out in front of 100,000 fans and all that. And so it's kind of seeing, who are going to be the guys that sort of emerge. And like you said, even though Ty Simpson has been there, like, the number of meaningful snaps has not been there just yet for Alabama. And I think clearly, you look at the schedule too and you tie it in, right? You're like, okay, let's say they go with this one guy for that opener at Florida State. Well, then you come back, you play ULM on September the 6th the following week. Then you get Wisconsin week after that, the off week, and then you're at Georgia. Like, so September, like, it's not something where all of a sudden you're just easing into your schedule, right? You're immediately starting on the road at Florida State, who we know, a program that certainly will have something to prove after the disappointment last year. So they're going to come out with a bit of a chip on their shoulder. Then you get, Wisconsin and Georgia as well, including the road game at Georgia, less than a month into the season. So it's that probably dictates a lot when we do our Alabama season preview. I'm sure. Look, we can talk about all the other stuff, but man, this is kind of your make or break here in terms of which one of these guys could emerge as the guy maybe under center for Alabama.
Yeah, and I think I think it'll be something that goes well into fall camp, because again they have to find experience is something, but they've got to find the one who fits best with what they're trying to do. They've got to win games, and you say that coming off a 9-win year, but again, there's a lot of pressure with this Alabama football job with this situation, and so Kalen DeBoer and company have to put the guy on the field who's going to get the job done. And I think they do have 3 good options. It's just these options don't have a lot of experience. Like player-wise, talent-wise, it's there, but on the field, leading a team, in a 2-minute drive to win a game, like who is going to give you the best opportunity to win? They got to figure that out.
Well, that's what Kalen DeBoer had to say. Going to be some on-the-job training, I think, for the Crimson Tide quarterback heading into the season. But, of course, we'll talk more about that here as we go throughout the offseason and preview the Alabama Crimson Tide heading into the 2025 SEC football season. We appreciate you guys watching. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button as well. Check out all the stuff we have here on the channel. And, again, we appreciate your support of Southeastern 16, and we'll talk to you again soon here at Southeastern 16.